Hey folks, Rob here, bringing another unboxing. Actually, we're going to call this an unbagging because I just got Operation Merkur in my hot little hands. So let's open it up and we'll see what's inside. All right, so this is the cover sheet here. First thing we can notice is, like Mark Pikovich pointed out on his Desperation Morale page, Operation Merkur. It should be Operation Mercury or Fall Merkur for the German version of that. But it's a mixture of English and German, which is kind of weird. At any rate, if you're well aware, it's probably are the German air assault on Crete in 1941. So this is an overview of what the map's going to be. Again, we'll look at it separately, but you can see historically where the proximate positions of the various allied elements were. And right up top here, we can see the Tavarantis Bridge. That's a scenario that Dave and I played a while back as well using geoboards, but it is actually located on the map itself. Right, so also included in the package, we have a Operation Merkur campaign game record keeping sheet. Now, the way this works, my understanding is, at any rate, that it's a series of ASL scenarios, which you can get certain kinds of victory points, as you can see here, and it determines overall who would win the campaign by linking a series of scenarios into one campaign game. Now, Stu from Battling with Stu and I are going to be actually playing this live. We're going to be streaming it. Well, we'll probably record it and then stream it like that after some editing, just to get out all the NOS that may or may not be important. So looking forward to doing that. Now, the Operation Merkur Tactical Wargame module contains a 56 by 49 inch hex map covering the main area. So again, we have Tavarantis Bridge, we have Malamine Airfield, and again, some more highlands, all different targets for the various German forces that were attempting to take the island. As well, there are 7 scenarios based on this map, and the 10 scenarios based on the actual Operation Merkur, which can be all linked together into that campaign game. Right, so here we have some hard stock, fairly, it's not brittle paper. It's almost like scenario card, and it's rather glossy for my liking. But heat of battle rules on Operation Merkur, not hole punch. You can clearly see I just got this in my hand, so I'm going to be hole punching that after I laminate them and throwing them in my binder with all my other stuff. So we have typical scenario information for campaigns, including special terrain. EC, looks like they're always clear dry with no wind at start. Wind is always considered to be from the north for gliders and air landing, however. Wind change die roll or NA. Jesus. All right. Terrain. Grain is in season. Kindling is NA. Streams are dry, and the trenching is NA. So what you have, I guess, is what you get. You cannot exchange foxholes. Normally you could, if you're given, for example, 3-1 squad, you can exchange it for a 3 squad kind of thing. You cannot do that with this one here. Apparently you're stuck with what you're given in the orders of battle. Now the beach slope is slight, so we do have a bit of beach. Bring back the map here, just on the edge. So if anything were to come that way, or if you want to somehow do maybe some kind of amphibious landing or something, there are rules for that. And the beach is going to be slight, which basically means that there's going to be usually around 3 hexes of shallow water, and may or may not be a beach wall. I'm not going to go through all these. Most of this is, again, specific to the scenario, and different things like Tavarantis Bridge. It tells you how to use it in case you have trouble with bridges. There's other bridges as well. We have a gun pit, which is a new feature. It's a large circular emplacement considered a gun pit. Cannot be created or eliminated, so it's only by orders of battle. And it's treated much like a trench. So the airfield itself is any hex whose center dot is surrounded by light tan hue is considered the airfield hex, and all rules pertaining to it apply. So if you look at our map, we can see here the airfield, rather than draw the individual runway, they've just designated the whole thing. Maybe it was a grass runway, I don't know, but anything that's in this tan hue color is going to be with an extra -1. Right, so we also have olive groves and vineyards. Again, these are already described in the rules. However, it's more information on how to define them for purposes of this scenario. And there is perimeter wire that is actually printed on the maps itself. Now, Cretan buildings OM13 just says that all buildings are stone and single story with the exception of any steeple locations. And any hex containing only one building depiction is assumed to have a Cretan rooftop location. Now, normally rooftops only exist on a multi-hex building. In this case, it's reversed. Any multi-hex does not have rooftops. It's only single hex buildings that do. So that's kind of interesting. And then we have various information on how to deal with the different kinds of units that are in play. It looks like we've got 16 overall special mission campaign SSRs. And the last one is number 16, campaign game rules. Each of the scenarios, the 7 scenarios we played once in order from beginning with OM2 through OM7. And you got to keep a running total of CVP for the course of the entire campaign game. And the winner is going to be obviously the person that's got the most campaign game points after all the scenarios have been completed in the proper sequence. So, and then we have some footnotes, and then finally we have some historical information. Looks like there's a lot of play testers, which is always good to see. Hopefully they gave this a good run of money. And again, Heat of Battle. 2007 copy, which I failed to mention. It's a rather old in terms of ASL, and this is one of the first, I think, third-party products that were put out there. Not the first, but one of the. And so it's good. Kudos to Heat of Battle for doing that. All right, so I'm going to block off most of these. You're not going to see them, especially when it comes to orders of battle and such. But this is going to be the first set of campaign game campaign game scenarios, which take place on the actual full map. Again, typically you'll have subsections of the map for different rules. So this first one is going to be Morning's Peril. And it looks like it is gliders landing around Tavronitis Bridge. Looks to be part of the airfield is included in the map, but right now it looks like we have the 1st Sturm Regiment that's arriving by glider. You're looking at about 10, 11 troops for the attacker, and about the same for the, or just slightly under about 2/3 for the defender, including a couple of guns, which are going to set up and probably cause a lot of casualties, as historically happened. Now, so that's the first one. And here's the synopsis for the key rules. Again, you can always refer to the full rule set itself, but it gives you a quick summary of all the different ones that might apply to this specific scenario. Next we have OM2, Glide Path to Hell. Same area, except you can see just the top, the bridge itself. This is regarding the Group West, which was attacking Tavronitis Bridge. It was a 3-pronged attack by the Germans. One that was going against the bridge, the other one against the airfield, and as I said, the third one's going up against the units up in the hill to make it easier. So what we're looking at here, again, I'll probably block this whole thing off. We're looking at a lot of units, different quality caliber equipment. We have 22 gliders coming in for the Germans. And it looks like the 2nd Battalion, 5th New Zealand is going to be fairly well stocked with leaders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leaders. 6 leaders and 3 anti-air guns, all in that one little section of map. OM3 is going to be Hill 107, so this is the 3rd objective, as I said, where the airborne troops try and get the elements off of the hill that are going to interfere with the rest of the operation. And it looks like all these are anywhere from, so far anyways, we're looking at 6 to 7.5 turns so far. So they're fairly small, but once more the numbers, we're looking at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 10 Anzac squads versus 10 German squads with gliders again. So it should be nice and close. Now, the Allies do get 2 anti-air guns, 76 millimeter, which is probably going to do a number on the gliders coming in. So we'll see how that works out in terms of fair play. Then we have OM number 4, which is the Umbrella Men. This takes place in the southeastern part of the map. And here we have Germans entering by airdrop for a total of, wow, 18 228s, because this is early war, May 41. They will not take their normal full strength until they recover their weapon canisters. I believe that is the way that works. Yeah, I think it was pre-42 airborne drops for the Germans. As I said, they're composed of 228s, and when they hit the ground, it's not till they recover their weapon canisters that they'll actually get their full 548 strength back. I think it's 548. And the Allies, for their part, in this 8.5 turn scenario, consist of a mixture of New Zealanders and some Cretan irregulars. So you're going to have partisans, a couple units, intermixed with some Anzacs, who are only 447, so that's kind of interesting too. OM number 5, we have the west half of the map, that large hill feature, with a large number of different locations for the Allies, with a lot of troops, and the Germans are coming in off board, so this time you don't have to worry about shooting units out of the sky. Looks to be no Allies units can move or advance on turn 1, so the Germans will have a free round of action, and they'll have to worry about fire lanes and being shot at and such, but they can don't have to worry about the Allies responding too soon, so it gives them a little bit of extra time to play with. Now we're looking for the attacker. They're going to have a total of 17 squads, and the Fender has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, about 15. So very close numbers of squads, but again, the Allies will be stuck in different locations, and they can not move on the first turn. Looking at OM6, waltzing the Matildas, we're going to have armor in play, with the Germans setting up in the defense, and we have Allies doing a little preemptive counterattack, trying to get some of that vital ground back. 2 Matilda tanks join about 10 squads, attacking about eight or so entrenched Germans. We're going to have some gliders, which will act as some kind of line of sight hindrance, no doubt, and that's about the only purpose they're going to serve. And the Defender does have a couple of small caliber AT guns. I don't think a 37 long is going to do much against the Matilda. All right, and then we have the last scenario, which uses the campaign, and it uses the actual map itself completely. So we're going to look at 10 historical rules, which is quite a lot to remember. There's going to be night rules in effect for game turns 1 and 4. And we have units coming in at different times as well. And according to MSR, well, historical rule number 9, at the beginning of turns 6, 7, and 9, the Germans automatically get air support, including consists of a fighter bomber and 1 dive bomber. Oh, it looks like the Germans suffered from ammo shortage at the start of turn 6, which again makes sense. They're generally lightly equipped units, and therefore they would not have their full complement of equipment. Or ammunition especially. I'm sure most of everything that could be was left aside just to pack more ammunition. So this is going to use the whole map, and as a result, we're going to have large numbers of troops. Now the Germans will be setting up in defense once more in different locations, spread all over the map. It's going to be 13 turns, the first 4 of which are going to be night, and it looks like we get reinforcements on 1, 2, 5 for the Allies, and then 7, 9, and 11 for the Germans. Looks to be we're going to have reinforcements landing for the Germans, which is going to be really cool. I wouldn't mind playing this one with Dave if we can ever get into it. Designed by Sean Carter. I didn't mention who designed the other ones. Apologies to that, guys, if you're watching this. But looks to be quite interesting campaign scenarios. All right, so let's look at these are the 10 scenarios that are played using the normal geoboards. Once more, the orders of battle will be blocked out, so you have to go out and get this if you can. I believe it's pretty rare, but I got this from Heat of Battle Direct. It was shipped quite quickly, so I got no complaints. I'm sure they still have copies available. So for this first mission, Rushing Hill A, we have Australians attacking or being defending. We have Australians defending against Germans. We have Elite 458s versus 548 Fallschirmjägers coming in. Looks like the Germans have a lot of, well, they got 3 guns. They got a mortar, a recoilless rifle, which I've never used in ASL, and an AT gun, whereas the Australians have a mortar, 2 artillery pieces, and a third for good measure. You're looking at just over a dozen squads for the Australians and probably a good 15-ish for the Germans. AOC2 uses boards 23-21, only half, and we have Germans setting up and moving first, while the Greek garrison looks to be green squads and 457, so these would be Allied miners, I imagine. Yeah, so we have 7 turns with the 2 boards. Looks to be 1 city board, number 21. And Germans or Greek units have an ELR of 2, of which we're looking at 15 green squads for the Greeks, or ELR 2, while the rest of the Australians have an ELR of 4, as opposed to the 11 or so Fallschirmjäger 548s, again set up in 2 different areas. They're going to be entering from off board. So the sequence is you would set up on the edge of the board you're going to enter on. So one group comes in on the west edge of board 23, the other one on the west edge of board 21. Then the defenders would set up, and then the attackers move on to the board, which is, again, really interesting way to do things. Never done like that before. AOC number 3, we're looking at the olive oil factory, uses half of 44 and 49. 6 small turns. You're looking at about 20 allies that move first versus 9 or 10 Fallschirmjäger. And we have a couple 447s and 238s thrown in, just probably to show their depleted status at some point. And they again have various kinds of guns, all different calibers. AOC 4, Town and Country, Assault on Crete by Derek Ward. This is 5.5 turns, very playable. Uses 3 deluxe boards, D, H, and F. So despite the small size, it's actually quite a large playing area of deluxe boards. I believe each board goes up to like 8M or something like that. Each board goes up from like letter A to letter O, so you're not looking at a full-size map board, but you do have 3 of the deluxe boards. Mixture of Mark 5Bs, and we have probably 23 or so allies British versus 10 German Fallschirmjäger. They have a single ATR to fend off against the Mark 4B, which only has armors of 1 on the sides and front, so it should be quite easy to take down with an ATR. AOC 5, at the apex, we have an assault on Crete by Derek Ward. 44, 12, 4, and 46 are your map boards, of which you use only half of each. Ammo shortage is in effect for the Allies. And we have Australian and Scottish units on the board. So they're treated separately. Again, interesting. The Black Watch have restricted freedom of movement. For the first 3 game turns, they may not move. The MMCs may not move unless they go berserk or rout. And when they do get freedom of movement, no Black Watch units permitted to move outside of their original setup area. If they do so for any reason, they are eliminated. Wow. So they do have a perimeter, obviously some kinds of guards, and we're going to have Germans attacking the Allies. All total, we have 12 Allied squads versus 11 attacking. Germans, as always, have 4 leaders, and so do the Brits in this one. Well, I guess the Allies, Australian and Scottish Black Watch. Here we have 42nd Street, number 6 of the scenarios designed to use the geoboards, of which you use 3 half ones. Again by Derek Ward, and we're looking at 5.5 turns, so very playable. Quite wide open. This board 35 is a lot of orchards, which I assume are going to be probably olive groves. Yeah, they're going to be olive groves according to the standard OM rules, which are all in play. Now we have Maori allies as well as regular Australians. So this here we have 10 of the elite Maori 458s, which will have to be kept separate because only Maori units qualify for the -1 for hand-to-hand. All allied units may declare hand-to-hand per the OM 15.2. However, only the Maori units will qualify for the -1 DRM for that. So that's important to note. So you're going to have to keep track of which units are which. Probably a good way to do that would be to use like maybe the double letters AA to whatever, and use single letters for your standard squads just to keep the two separate. You're going to have 20 allies versus 16 German defenders, the Gebirgsjäger regiments, so mountain troops. And once again, the Germans are heavily stocked with leaders. They got 4 to their 16, which I guess is average 1 per 4 squads. And the Allies, for their part, have, as I said, 20 squads, and you've got 9 leaders. So that's almost a 1 leader for 2 squads kind of ratio, which is quite good. Number 7, Assault on Crete. We use 2 full boards. Last 7 turns by Magnus Hindesberger, designer of the scenario. Only 4 small historical rules, although again it uses all of the Operation Merkur rules, all 16. There is one overlay as well on this map. And German units setting up on board cannot fire, move, or advance on German turn 1. However, they can route normally, and if they go berserk, of course, they can do their thing. Brits sets up first, and the Germans move first. Now, there are 4 squads which are set up on the map board. Those guys cannot move in the first turn. Those look to be the unarmed paratroopers. And then we have some reinforcements for the Germans arriving on turn 1 from the west edge. So it looks like the British might be able to contain the units on board. They have 8 squads to do so, a couple of foxholes setting up in defense, and the Germans will, who are on the attack, will somehow have to deal with that with 4 of their 238 squads being handicapped at start. Number 8, Game's Up, Aussies. Sean Carter and Derek Tucker have designed this. Now we're looking at 7 historical rules. Once more, all the OM ones are in effect. So total, there's 16 and 7 is 23 different rules you're going to have to remember. That's quite a lot to take on, so I assume this isn't going to be a one-off play in these scenarios. It's going to probably play them all in series to keep everything fresh in your head. Now, for this scenario, the Allies do suffer from ammo shortage. All guns are considered British for all purposes, except for the captured Italian guns. Use red to hit numbers and cannot gain acquisition. Interesting. You cannot exit any Allied units prior to turn 3. So the Allies set up, and looks like the Allies get VP for good order units exited off the south edge of board 38. However, you cannot exit before turn 3. So it's going to be interesting to the Germans because they have to inflict casualties. At the same time, the Allies have to decide how many, if any, of their units can be safely moved off the map board and save destruction. It's going to be very quick to catch them, however, because it looks like we have bicycle troops. Nope, motorcycles. For the Germans, we have a couple of guns. Well, 3 AT guns, 2 infantry, and a 81 mortar. And we're looking at about 10 or so German troops chasing off, let's say, 12 allies. Right, two more. This one is number 9, Unsung Heroes. Uses the same 3 boards again, 44, 17, and 43. We have, counting the OM rules, we have 25, 20 rules to remember. Looks like we have Greeks represented by 457s, so I guess they would be the British first line 457s. I assume you would use. I don't know if that would be Allied miners or not. Although if you do have them, you may have. Interestingly, the Greeks do have the dare death capability, much like the Chinese do. So you can pre-designate a couple of squads, and when they meet certain conditions, they can go berserk and get any benefit from that. So interesting. A Greek MMC gaining possession of a non-malfunction German support weapon whose previous possessor was a German unit immediately becomes fanatic. And it lasts as long as it possesses a non-malfunction German support weapon. Very interesting. We have Fallschirm Pioneer Battalions, so we're going to have 838s and 548s with LMGs up the wazoo, a medium and a heavy, as well as 2 50mm mortars, flamethrower, and a couple of DCs. Well stocked because they got 5 liters to go with their 16 units. So good ratio there. Greek, for their part, have 16 squads and 4 leaders. So. Then we have the last one, Glide Path to Invasion. This only uses board 30, which is one of the desert ones, so it's going to be nice and flat. We have 6 historical rules plus all the OM ones, and there is 3 overlays on the board. E1, X2, and X5 are your overlays, and one of them is probably going to be a building which represents a radio tower, which I assume is the capture. 30 R2, yeah. So X5, which is probably just a single hex building depiction, is going to be your target, and the Germans win a game end if they control it, and any AA guns are captured, eliminated, or unmanned by good order crews. So the Germans will have a tall order ahead of them. To do this, they have 9 gliders, 8 squads, a couple of 4 leaders, and looks to be some weaponry coming in on 9 gliders, as I said. And then facing off, we have the British with 10 squads, as well as 4 crews manning 3 anti-aircraft guns, which are going to be set up in place, unconcealed, and in A mode. So while the designated hexes are, there's 3 of them for the 3 guns, they are going to be 94mm, which is really going to do a number on the gliders coming in. Rate of fire is only 1, so that might save a couple of the gliders, but could be interesting coming up against 3 in place guns. I don't know what the Germans are thinking, but that is crazy. All right, so let's look at some counters. These all come with the scenario module, so let's look at nice, zoom in close. Quite good clarity. Let's look down. The looks like the registration seems to be nice and good on each of them. They do have only, which is kind of irritating, they have the nibs in the middle of the counter. You can see there, so it's going to be interesting to clip those off. You're probably going to have to use a knife, and then you got to worry about clipping away too much of the counter for that. I would much prefer it. Again, this is a 2007, and I'm sure they've changed, but I would love it if they had the corner nibs, not in the middle of the profile. That is a lot of German vehicles. Wow. Captured German. Here we have some Kustenjager. Not sure what that means. 6 for 8 squads for some of the scenarios. They have their own special leaders as well, and some other various small counters. Again, it's looking pretty nice. Let's look at this. And then lastly, we have some SAS and long range desert group. So we have their vehicles down here. And then the upper one is going to be the 338 squads, much like upgraded crews that are going to be driving their Jeeps all around through the desert. So that looks quite cool. We also have a, not sure what I'm supposed to do with this to be quite sure. It's a piece of paper, but it does have counters on here. I don't know if that was supposed to be included, and it's not, or what, but it looks to be a photocopy of sheets that should be in the game. So if this is the case, this is obviously shit. If anybody knows the rationale behind this, by all means, please let me know. But I feel like I got cheated out of a half sheet of planes, gliders, and especially the 228 Fallschirmjägers, again in their unmanned or unarmed states. All right, so this here we're looking at right now is the map. It consists of two pieces. North half is the airfield and Tavrontis Bridge, you can see at the top. And then at the bottom left, we have that major hill feature to the left. Nice clarity. Typical geoboards. We do have the funky little hill signature. Half slope signatures you can see here on the hex here. Looks to be olive grove symbology, so it's not going to be your typical orchards, as well as grain. And once more, the airfield is just that tan colored hue, and there's no runway depiction per se. So the whole thing is considered to be runway, which means you're going to be paying -1 in addition to any moving and open and or non-assault. And there we have Operation Merkur. Again, Operation Mercury in English, or Fall Merkur, however you say it in German. For the German version of that, which is what it should say, not have both words intermixed. German air assault on Crete, a historical study. So this is Heat of Battle's version of a historical ASL. Probably due to copyright legalities and whatnot, they couldn't use certain terminology. So this is a historical study. 82 new half-inch counters, 36 new 5-inch counters, 1 historical map of the airfield, 7 map scenarios, which can be put together into a game, campaign game, and then there's 10 geomorphic map scenarios included as well. So there's no real historical ASL campaign like most, like Valley Guards, Red Barricades, etc. It's just a series of linked scenarios, which you can cobble together in order, and then you can play a campaign if you so choose. So, German Fallschirmjäger going into Crete, heavily defended by the British and their allies. So it's going to be interesting, I think, to play this with Stu. Looking forward to it. That'll probably be coming up sometime August, September kind of time frame we're looking at, I believe. And we'll see you guys in those. So if you've played this, or if you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, by all means, please leave them down below in the comments. And we'll see you guys next video. Bye-bye.